As we have heard, this weekend is Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Sunday, and it marks the beginning of NAIDOC Week. The planners of this Sunday have chosen well in their focus for our celebration, highlighting the call from Jesus to his disciples. The harvest is plentiful, but the labourers are few. So, the planners for this weekend tell us, get up, stand up, and finally show up, to somehow make this particular celebration as effective as we can be in union with the First Nations peoples who have called this land home for some 60,000 years. This weekend, we enter into this particular event, aware perhaps of the many injustices that have been perpetrated upon this ancient people by all of us, we who are the later arrivals. Injustices there have been, and today, especially after the acknowledgement of those crimes of the past by Kevin Rudd's government a few years ago, there has been an endeavour on both sides to build a home grounded upon harmony, peace and equality amongst all the people who now call Australia home. There is much that still needs to be done, and it's important for all of us to endeavour to work together, to build a society grounded upon that sense of justice, peace and equality. So perhaps it is time for all of us to get up, stand up and show up, and make a difference by our willingness to live and work together in that sense of peace and harmony. I'm grateful to the organisers of this particular liturgy presented to us this weekend, but I'm grateful for a very different reason. While we do celebrate Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Sunday this weekend, the words that have been chosen for this day also sits well with us and what is happening within our faith communities as we endeavour to move towards an unknown future. The motto that we have heard, chosen for this Sunday, can become a great motto for our communities. Get up, stand up, and finally show up. Last Monday, I spoke with Elaine Pitto. Now, you may have never heard of Elaine before today, but he is one of the Brisbane Catholic Education team who set about planning, preparing and building schools across the Archdiocese. I need to talk to you, John, he said to me the other day, about building the school at Flagstone. I thought, that sounds good. And so it is my hope that Elaine and I are able to get together to plan for the future. Now, as I thought about this, I thought that Elaine's predecessor of some 40 odd years ago would also have met with Father John Nee and probably said the same thing to him. We need to talk. And as a result of that conversation some 40 odd years ago, St Bernardine's Primary School was born. I'm sure that there are people here today who no doubt remember those heady days of planning, preparing, and then building the school that would cater to the young generation of the Browns Plains families, locally and from the wider communities around. But it happened. And now, 40 years later, St Bernardine's School is flourishing, and all because of the invaluable work that had been carried out by dedicated people at that time. Well, the time has come once again to get up, stand up and show up as we move towards expanding the resources that are so much a part of our parish at this time. For those of the parish who perhaps wander far and wide within the area, you may have noticed that our parish is expanding. Greenbank and its districts are becoming filled suburbs of some note. Flagstone is expanding towards Springfield at this time, And Jimboomba, that quiet little rural community, is almost rural no longer. So the time has come for us, as members of this parish, to perhaps get up, to stand up and show up, to begin building our church presence in those areas so that we can connect in with the families who are now calling those areas home. St Bernardine's church community was the starting point for the movement of the church from out of Sunnybank so many years ago. And much has taken place to build this church to serve the needs of the locals here at Regents Park, or then Browns Plains. But now it's time to move on, ever more onward and upwards, as we begin to plan and prepare for our church's presence in those areas where the population seems to have exploded and there is no connection with church in their family lives. We are the church. We are those people today who, like our predecessors of some 40 years ago, are now being called to set about to carry the gospel of Jesus Christ to those new areas of life. Alain Pitot, remember him? Well, he may be the catalyst that draws us beyond where we are today. Flagstone needs a school. But then Flagstone also needs a church. And Greenbank needs a greater Catholic presence. And Jimboomba may also need a greater presence into the future. Our time as parishioners of this Logan region has only just begun then, as we now are called upon to build the church into the future. I will be with you always, Jesus had promised to his disciples so long ago. He is with us still today, within our community. And it's Jesus himself who sends us to build the church for today and tomorrow. And it all begins with us.